Thanks very much for joining us today, Mr. Palmisano. First of all, when you look at the global economy rebalancing towards Asia, what sort of opportunities do you, from a developed nation, see for entrepreneurs?
Well, I think if you think about it, it's a tremendous opportunity for everyone. Tremendous opportunity for the Asian companies as well as for every other company in the world. And it's really a demographic shift. If you look at what's happened over the past 30 years because of globalization, there's been more than 500 million people in this region enter the middle class. So they start to consume, and they use all sorts of things associated with consumption. They buy all kinds of branded products. And they're all heavily mobile users today with mobile technologies and social media and whether the equivalents of the Twitters, the Facebooks, and all those social media kinds of events. So there's just the fact of there's so much social progress in the size of the middle class and the income levels that are increasing because of that creates these opportunities. Now, it also creates challenges, but certainly if you were a company today and you're an entrepreneur starting up in Silicon Valley, let's say, there is tremendous opportunity to be able to participate in these markets. But again, you need to be agile in your participation. It's not as straightforward as it might seem.
What are some of the challenges that you're alluding to?
Well, one's competition. I mean, in the earlier days of the model, say the Silicon Valley model, the technology model I'm very familiar with, the way it would work is you'd be some smart kid coming out of a great school like Stanford, come up with a tremendous idea, whatever that, Yahoo, Google, what have you, and then you'd get it going and you begin to mostly operate in the English world, and you do your IPO, you continue to scale, and you had time. But today what's happening, the same guys that are starting these wonderful companies, whatever it happens to be, Yelp, payment systems, what have you, the competition in Asia is immediate. They aren't giving the benefit of 5 to 7 years to scale their companies, develop a management team. The Asian competition is day one. And so it makes it much more, it's good in a way. It's very good from an Asian perspective because these are also very successful companies that are creating jobs and wealth and expanding the middle class. But at the same time, it's a challenge to the guys who felt for many, many years they had this unique model called innovation in Silicon Valley. And mobile penetration is so great and the barriers to entry are so low that it takes people who can program, that are really smart, that can create these businesses.
So what does it take then to be successful and to compete in this sort of global marketplace when, as you say, you don't have that luxury of developing your product and the lead time and the secrecy maybe that goes with that?
Well, all those barriers of the past are gone. Language, geography, that's gone. So I think you immediately have to start as a globalist. You can't think of yourself as Chinese, Thai, Vietnamese, American, what have you. You can't think of yourself that way, not from a business context. You could be 24 years old and you just start thinking like a globalist immediately because your competition, the market opportunity is everywhere, which is very, very positive. So it's a bigger space to play in. At the same time, everybody sees the opportunity and they're all chasing the opportunity. So I think you have this perspective. And I don't know that the schools prepare young people for that. One of the reasons in retirement I've started this center called the Center for Global Enterprises is to really advance the learnings in this space. My observation is that regardless of the size of your company, the educational systems, and it's a global statement, aren't preparing future business leaders, I could argue in many ways future societal leaders, for the world as it's evolving. And it's moving really quickly. And so those skill sets, they can be learned, but someone needs to teach them.
Now, moving on to sort of a broader perspective, from a businessman's perspective, what do you think is going to happen in the global economy in 2014?
Well, I think that's sort of anyone's guess. In many ways, the global economy had the benefit, as you know, of the emerging geographies lifting the major markets where they were struggled because of the financial crisis. But that has also slowed at this point in time. So you're not going to get that same lift that you would hope to have had. And then inherent within that, there's not the coordinated public policy and economic policy that you would like to be occurring. So, I mean, you could argue that in many ways, the fact that the U.S. economy is growing at 1.5% to 2% with very little coordination between the private sector and the public sector is sort of says a lot for the U.S. economy, how resilient it really is, because there's no effort from a public policy, from a collaboration perspective. I wouldn't say there's no effort, but if there is effort, there's no agreement to really get focused on initiatives that could help lift the economy. So the biggest engines of growth, the United States and China. China has slowed, but still very good growth relative to the rest of the world. Germany, goes through the engines of growth in the world, and it's going to be, I think, more like the past and all the optimism people would hope for from 2014.
All right. Well, thanks very much for your thoughts, Mr. Palmisano. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're all set?
Great.
All right.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.